Right then guys, welcome to the video, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to talk about what is probably the most asked question I get on the channel, and that is what has happened with the red EP3. Down here at Ignite Automotive, and this is where the car was actually put together, built, the engine was all out the car, everything, all that stuff before I owned it, and this was also where it's been stored ever since I actually purchased the car, however many months ago it was now. Some backstory for anyone that doesn't know about this car at all. I bought this car, I think about 18 months ago. There's loads of cool stories behind this thing. My grey EP3 got mapped at the same time as this, so I've even got footage of this thing on the dyno. This is also the car that meant this is how I found out about Ignite Automotive. Just loads of cool stuff. I did talk about that in my original video when I said that I bought this. The radio silence has been because I basically haven't had the money to be able to do anything with this car yet because of buying a house and S2000 and finishing the grey EP3. And this thing's just basically been sat waiting for me to have some money. I still don't really have that money, but this car is going to be moving to the house soon. So at least it's going to be with the other cars. Let's talk about underneath what you're going to see for the first time. It's also what I'm going to see for the first time, so let's have a look. First off, considering you guys know how much these things rust under here, look, you can literally see some of the red paint still on the sills. You can see the red paint on here. This thing is super clean. So this is a shell swapped car. There's nothing going on in the rear arches on both sides. There's a little bit of surface rust on this side, but really nothing too crazy. The sills all the way along are, I mean, again, little spots of surface rust, but when do you see an EP3 that's like this? Also bear in mind that since I've owned this car, it has done 0 miles. This thing has had so many fresh parts. Although the engine's a little bit dirty, it is actually completely fresh. Just needs a wipe down to get all of this dry mudded water. Some different drop links in there, as you can see. Completely standard suspension under here, so nothing crazy going on yet, but that's why this thing is the perfect base for my plans with this thing. Subframe, as you can also see, pretty good condition as well. Brand new Tegra 41 manufacturer. Well, I guess it was brand new. It's been on the car for such a long time now. I'm pretty sure that Dan, when he finished building this car, basically drove it to his house and then back again and was like, nah, I'm not really interested in it. And then it didn't really do many miles after that. So all of the stuff that happened to this here at Ignite has basically done no miles, and the engine was out the car fully refreshed. Also, I can see back here, which I didn't know about, which is a great sign, we've got some hard raced rear camber arms. That's a big win. The exhaust on this thing is like a M2 Spoon N1 rep. Looks like it's in okay condition. New ball joint in there. Even in here, you can still see the red paint, and that's just with it being dirty. Just wiping all this stuff down is going to clear it up. The rear crash bar, that's pretty crusty, but again, I have seen much worse. That probably does need replacing, but I'm super stoked with how this looks under here. So we've got some averagely beat up OEM wheels on this thing, standard front brakes. We've got some Brembo pads in there by the looks of things, and obviously same on the rear. Everything OEM looking, obviously, apart from those rear camber arms. And now it's back on the ground. Let's talk about the exterior of this thing, because as you can see, it's definitely getting a little bit green and mossy from it just being sat for so long. But this thing is the ideal base for a track car, to be honest, because the underside is super fresh, so you don't have to worry about actually being rotten and actually dangerous. But yet the outside, as you can see, this sort of thing here is not in the best of shape, which means it doesn't matter if it gets knocked about a bit on track. Yeah, look at this. This is the first time I've properly looked around this thing pretty much since I bought it. As you can see, it is a 2002 pre-facelift EP3 in Milano red, although this is probably a closer to Milano pink. But it will be interesting to see what this looks like after a clean. We've got black mirrors though, and we've also got a black standard Type R wing here as well, which is a little interesting touch. Bit of moisture in the back. Also, what I've noticed is the tints are the wrong way around. We've got the fronts tinted and there's nothing in the rear. There is some stuff in here actually. We've got a couple of seats. Actually, these gas struts are better than on my grey car. We've got a couple more seats in here that aren't ripped, but everything has got a little bit of mold on it because that is what happens when things get a bit wet. Same box in here as when I got it. The battery's currently not in. We did push this thing in, and there is no ECU in this currently either, so that was one of the things that I had to grab. So we've now got a K100 for this thing with the map that Romain did at the same time as mine. This thing down here is what I swapped out of my car because mine broke, so this currently doesn't have any heating. These seats are definitely going to need a clean, but they are in better condition than the current seats that are in the car, so it's quite funny. I now have I guess 6 of these because I've got my facelift seats. I could put those facelift seats in this as well, couldn't I? You can see these are pretty beaten up in here. Awful steering wheel, all of this stuff will eventually get sorted, but it's an incredible base for a car. Oh God, look at the mold that's on here as well. Wow. Apart from this being super clean, this is another reason why I picked this car up. A refreshed K20 that was fully out of the car and just had lots of really nice bits done. It's got brand new bits all over this thing. Obviously got a different inlet manifold. We've got this intake going down to here, which we may change, I'm not sure. Obviously the battery relocated like you saw. This thing makes the same power that my EP3 used to make because this has the same size restrictive exhaust that mine had when I had the spoon exhaust. So it's about 220-ish horsepower, but again, perfect to start with as a base for a track car. It doesn't really need more power at the moment, it just needs other bits to support that kind of thing. It's already gonna be a hilarious amount of fun. What this thing really needs, especially in here, is just a cleanup, and this thing will just look so much better than it does right now. This thing being in the car, huge win, because Ignite did so much work with this. Brand new timing chain in it, brand new alternator, just stuff like that, that makes this thing ideal to pretty much just turnkey and go. So what is the plan with this thing? Well, this is probably the last time that this car is gonna be here. It's actually gonna come back to my house now that 1, I have the space, and 2, Ignite need the space here. So huge shout out to Ignite for doing all the work on the car, but also storing this car for the length of time that they have. What needs to happen is the ECU needs to go in with the map on it, because we got K100 for this thing now, because it was originally mapped on a K Pro that wasn't for this car. In terms of things that I have for this thing, I've got a baffled sump, and that needs to go in this at some point. And as you can see, this thing probably does need some coilovers, different seating, that kind of stuff, because the plan is for this to be a track car. And with all of this strong basis that's happened to this thing already, this is like the perfect thing to see whether like certain mods do actually start making a difference on track times, because we have this super solid base. So do brake pads make a difference? Does suspension make a difference? Does a different seat make a difference? Obviously they do, but it'll be interesting to see how much of a difference they make. This thing obviously looking pretty sorry for itself at the moment, but hopefully it's going to get a bit of a glow up when it gets back to mine. I can give it a wash so it doesn't look quite as bad, and we can potentially start working on it. I don't know exactly the timeline on this because I still don't really have the money for this. I'd rather spend that on the S2000 currently, but the fact that it will be at my house now means that'll probably motivate me to get some more content on it. So leave some comments down below, guys. What do you want to see with this thing? Also, let me know what you think of the condition that it's in right now. I know it's pretty sorry for itself. Also, don't forget to check out Ignite if you want to get any work booked in. As you've seen from loads of my videos, so much cool stuff gets built here, so they can handle pretty much anything, and they've even got a turbo EP3 here right now, which is super cool. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one.